Hello again, and this is a part two to the video that I did last night. I just wanted to make a shorter version for those who don't have time to watch the long, really long video that I made last night. So here's a part two, but it's going to be just as insightful. Um, when you have a chance, though, try to watch that first video all the way through. I know it's long, but when you have a moment, it's got a lot of information in there, but I'm basically getting ready to semi-repeat what I've already said, but add some stuff to it at the same time. So we're going to start with what is a kundalini awakening or experience? Well, basically, um, it's when your energy rises and your chakras are flooded with higher energy, like higher solar energy or higher frequency energy. Like everything oscillates, okay? But it's when your energy starts oscillating at a very high frequency and it comes through your chakras, it spreads all through your body. We have energy points of light in every organ, and there's certain energy centers surrounding those organs, like the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the head chakra, and then there are other chakras in the arms and the legs, um, smaller chakras or whatever, but they're all energy points of light that carry information, higher level information that not everybody can receive because not everybody down here has a soul. Um, and that just basically means they don't carry the solar light rays of the sun or higher energy, higher information. So the kundalini experience basically happens when you start to sun gaze properly and you start to charge in the sun and you meditate. If you take a multi-dimensional approach to waking up to higher information, then this will happen, okay? But it's for those who carry this light information in their chakras already. So it's I experienced this based on who I am in the spirit world or in the afterlife or whatever you want to call it, the astral realm, whatever, the higher astral realms. Um, so yeah, you do have to do the work, okay? You have to put in the work of meditating properly, um, eating certain foods, that are higher vibration. Like your diet isn't super important. I mean, because when you're in a high frequency, like you can kind of eat whatever you want. Because when I was younger, I carried a higher level of energy naturally, and I didn't know it was because I was a high frequency being. But I could eat anything I want, digest anything I want. It wasn't until my emotions got caught up in negativity or negative thinking and feelings that it was harder to eat certain foods or whatever, or my body became more sluggish. But diet is somewhat important. So meditating, somewhat of a good diet. Getting out in the sun, spending time in nature, listening to higher vibrational music, questioning reality. You should just be, you know, questioning reality and just wanting to be opened up to higher information. And the more you do this, the more you sun gaze. And there's certain positions you can sit in when you sun gaze, and uh, and there's a certain way that you can sun gaze too. I got it from this guy named Master of Earth. I don't know how many of you have heard of this guy, but he basically showed you how to properly sun gaze, and you basically sit with your knees bent, with your hands placed on your kneecaps, with your head held up, and you don't stare directly at the sun. You roll your eyes up into your head like you're rolling your eyes back, to where the only the white shows, but you're actually looking up at your third eye. And you look up at your third eye with your eyes rolled, but yet you're looking at the sun at the same time because your head is aimed right at the sun. And that will charge you. And you do that enough times, that will charge your chakras and you will receive some high information. And it took me, you know, the last month to get here, maybe two. And I've been doing, like meditating and all that, for many years. But specifically, the way I've been meditating here lately, um, led to this Kundalini experience where I got all this information and I was shocked. And it came through me. Nobody talked to me. I didn't watch nobody's, I didn't watch someone else's YouTube video to get this information. Like it came to me, through my own being. It was higher information that couldn't be spoke to me by a human being. It just came to me. So that's basically what that is. And your energy does rise. It rises from your spine, but not just from your spine. It rises from your kidneys, from all your organs, from your chakras. It rises and shoots all the way up through your body. It's a hell of an experience. And believe it or not, marijuana, if used in the right way, can aid in the kundalini experience. And I'm sure so can other, natural herbs that come from the earth, maybe even ayahuasca or whatever. Although ayahuasca will take you on a full on, hallucinative, experience. So you'll go on a hell of a hallucinative experience. But, anyways, okay, so questioning reality. So you should be questioning reality for you to have a kundalini experience. The reptilians are all around us, okay? They are in human form. They are disguised as people. They partially use technology for this, and then they partially body snatch people to do this. The amphibians and the reptilians are parasites, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. They are low level, low consciousness parasites, and they need their low frequency technology, which may actually be very, very highly advanced. Because I remember Kyle Odom said that they had highly advanced technology that was millions of years beyond, whatever humans have on Earth. That may be true, but it's also of a low frequency. So it only operates on a low frequency, on a low level of energy and information and consciousness and all that. It's a parasite technology. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, um, and these beings move like a colony. They're a hive mind, parasite intelligence. They're basically um, a wave. Okay, they're a cluster group intelligence that acts as a wave. And once they get alerted to you, they start gang stalking you and doing all kinds of stuff to try to sabotage your life to lower your frequency. Okay, so oneness. I wrote some notes down here. I'm looking at my notes as I'm reading. I'm trying to be as quick as I can. Oneness. So these beings want you to think that everything is one consciousness and you're one with, them and freaking everything else and all this and that. When actually what's going on here is everything has its own cluster group. So there is an infinite field, kind of like what quantum physics talked about. But within that field, it's not just one consciousness, that split itself up and all this and that. Okay, first of all, the infinite field can't be measured. It has no beginning or end. It doesn't exist in time. It's non-local. So there's no measurement or no concept that you can come up with to define this field. Okay, it's just like what the Tao, the saying of the Tao says, the Tao that can be spoken is not the real eternal Tao. All right, let that sink in because that's what's going on here. So anybody screaming oneness, we're all one consciousness and all that, that's one of these reptilian parasites. They want to confuse you and make you think that you're one with them and all this crap, so you won't figure out your solar light and what you really are. Now, each higher level being does belong to a cluster group in, certain realms and all that. But you're still an individual at the same time. So you can exist as an individual and a wave at the same time. It's kind of like, how they said particles can go from particles to wave and all that in quantum physics. It's true. Okay. But a wave and a particle can exist at the same time. So, and maybe they'll figure that out eventually. But okay, because everything is oscillating energy, everything's moving and circulating. All the energy in my body, all the particles, all that. And that's what we're all doing down here. We're all oscillating and moving back and forth. So you can see it. Okay. Some of us are just oscillating at lower levels, some of us higher levels. So I'm trying to mix the spirituality with the quantum physics and the science here. So, okay. So we're moving on to raise your vibration. Okay. So this is a simulation for higher beings to play the game of get your energy drained and then raise your vibration. So you're basically supposed to wake up, after so many years of having your energy drained and having weird stuff happen and just, not feeling like yourself or having certain things happen at a certain point in your life that makes you question reality. And that's supposed to wake you up and make you raise your vibration, but not everyone. Not every solar being wakes up. Some get reincarnated, but that's the whole point, is to raise your vibration, and that's how you beat the reincarnation soul trap. Now, I understand how this may turn some people off, especially in the soul trap community, because we've been taught um, that raising your vibration has to do with the new age, and that the new age is a bunch of corny, loony people, who just talk about love and light and hugging trees and stuff. But some of that is true, okay? Some of that is actually true. And if you try to live your life that way and you try to stay in higher frequencies, like, you really will see that your life is better. If you let go of some of this lower vibrational stuff, um, your life will transform. It really will. Now, it's okay if you just want to watch a horror movie or you want to listen to some gangster rap music or stuff like that, because I was raised on gangster rap music and hard rock and alternative rock and all that. I also like jazz and, smooth music and uh, relaxing music and all that. So, not here trying to tell anybody what to do. You can live your life however you want. But, if you want to wake up and see through the illusion, or if you've been having a hard life, you may need to raise your frequency. And that can be as simple as just changing your lifestyle, how you wake up in the morning, how you eat or what time you eat, or how you move or what time you move, going out in nature more, getting out in the sun, charging up your chakras. Again, this is information only for beings, with that solar light in you, with a soul. This isn't for any parasites that are out there, although you're probably going to watch the video anyway. Okay. Now, even though you are supposed to raise your vibration, when you raise your vibration, you run the risk of becoming gang stalked, especially if you raise your vibration while exposing things. Which I do believe that that's part of raising your vibration, is you're supposed to expose stuff and, you know, talk about things that aren't right in the world. You're not just supposed to raise your vibration and then hug a tree and pat yourself on the back and sit there, with your legs folded and your fingers on your knees pointing up, with your eyeballs closed. Like, no, that's not all that it is. That is a bunch of bullshit if you've heard that. No. Raising your vibration makes you want to expose the truth, of this fake reality. And then that'll run the risk of you getting gang stalked, and they'll try to drive you crazy. They do all these tactics on the street, in the grocery store, different places of business where you go. You'll get weird phone calls. You'll get people calling you out of nowhere. People knocking on the door for no reason, making noise around your house, looking at you from outside your house, like stuff like that. It's a real phenomenon. It's weird and it's creepy. It's like these beings, can't take no for an answer, so they have to do all this creepy, weird stuff, But it is what it is. This is what makes them soulless, is they have to do all this creepy stalker stuff, And they have technology that they use to try to lower your frequency, and they have their cell phones. The cell phones that they use. They have some type of, I don't know if it's an app or if it's some type of technology within the phone, but they can get on their phone and zap your energy and drain you and try to manipulate your thoughts and your emotions and try to make you move a certain way and this and that, so they can mess with you or they can set you up. They constantly are setting up, trying to set up your reality. And this is from somebody who's been targeted, okay? But the targeted individual gang stalking thing is real. And that's what happens, when you really raise your vibration and you start exposing stuff like I did. That's probably what led me to expose stuff, as my vibration was raising, and I started talking about chemtrails and reptilians and government conspiracies and all that to my coworkers back in 2018. And by the beginning of 2019, I started experiencing gang stalking and being zapped with directed energy weapons. This is all this reptilian technology, okay? That's why it sounds so crazy, is because it's not being done by normal humans. Or normal human wouldn't do this dumbass shit, okay? This is a parasite acting, all right? Out of its parasite consciousness. So, okay, so if you've ever had feelings of depression or anger or sadness out of nowhere, right after feeling good or having a good time with your friends or family or whatever, or if you've gone through bouts of that in your life, more than likely you were being drained by an energy vampire, reptilian, amphibian being. That's what these beings are. That's why they are energy vampires, is because They are parasites. A parasite has to parasite off of something higher than itself to get energy because it lacks what it needs automatically because it's a parasite. All right. Okay. So, wow, I basically touched up on everything. Like I ran through this pretty quickly. Oh yeah, pharmaceutical industry. So these beings are in the pharmaceutical industry. They're all in the hospitals. They're freaking everywhere. Now that shouldn't make you scared. I mean, if you break your knee or something, go to the hospital and get it fixed. If you approach reality from a high vibrational frequency and you're going around and you're meeting everyone from a perspective of peace and tranquility and all that, and higher feelings and higher thoughts, you can control your reality and you can manipulate these reptilians to behave better. Because I've seen them do it. I've seen the gang stalking go from real extreme when I was getting irritated by it and wanting to react to it slowing down and almost malfunctioning when I was in a vibration of peace, walking around in the grocery store or wherever I was when the targeting was happening. So, yeah, you can hijack reality. Again, this is only for beings with the solar light in you, okay? Obviously, a parasite isn't going to benefit from this information, or maybe you guys will. You guys probably will try to go back and, tighten up your frequency technology, even though it's not going to work. But anyways, so yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. This is a game simulation reality for higher beings. I use the analogy of Sophia, the goddess Sophia in Gnostic texts, where she created the demiurge, because she wanted to create something outside of what they create in the pleroma or, the paradise realms where the eons or the aeons exist. And that's just a metaphor for what's actually going on with people who carry the light frequency of the sun, the children of the sun, and these reptilian beings that are down here. So we basically, the higher beings in the real world, from the higher realms in the universe, created these reptilians and these amphibian AI to be on a lower frequency, to be energy vampires, so that they could be in this world and come in and out of different dimensions, so that we could play this game with them. This game of drain our energy and then raise your vibration. And then once you raise your vibration, that's how you beat the reincarnation soul trap. But if you die on a low frequency, then they can hijack your afterlife experience and reincarnate you. They can't show up as Mother Mary or your grandmother or, your brother's girlfriend or whatever. If your frequency is raised and you're living, out of your authentic higher vibrational self, okay? They just can't mess with you. They can't manipulate you. But if you're in a low frequency, yeah, they can manipulate you all day. They can trick you. That's what they do. Okay? This is why we are children of the sun, okay? We come from the light of the sun. They have a false light matrix, all right? And there's actually videos on the false light matrix, the real light and the false light. The real light is the sun in the sky, okay? That's the return of, I guess you could say, Christ or Christos. I don't really like using, Christ as the terminology. I got out of religion a long time ago, but it's the best analogy that we got, okay? The return of Christ is the return of the sun in the sky and the reactivation of every human that is connected to the sun and the return of paradise on earth, okay? And basically, when that happens, the reptilian will be forced underground again because that's where they came. See how in the what was it? In the Bible, it said that man will return to the dust or whatever. Well, I think that was symbolic of the reptilian returning back into the center of the earth, back through the soil and all that. Well, that's just my take on it, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, this is basically what's going on. This information came to me from my kundalini experience that I had, and I think this is going to benefit somebody. But yeah, that's how you beat the reincarnation soul trap. You raise your vibration, you live authentically, and you can do it whether you're targeted or not. Some people got the privilege of raising their vibration and not being targeted. I don't think everyone is targeted because there's different degrees of raising your vibration. Like if you raise your vibration, but you're still like, living in the matrix and your vibration is not fully raised, but you just kind of had a little spiritual experience, but you're not doing nothing with it, then they won't consider you a threat. But it's when you raise your vibration and you're exposing stuff and you're getting on YouTube and you're talking about reality and, you know, what they're doing and chemtrails and government conspiracies, that's when they are bothered by you. That's when, you know, they're like, all right, this dude's energy is going up too much. He's going to distort reality. He's going to take everything from us. We got to get him, you know? But that's basically it in a nutshell. If you don't want to reincarnate anymore, you need to raise your vibration. Otherwise, you run the risk of these parasites hijacking your reincarnation experience, okay? Because I do think at one point in time, you know, we had control over our incarnation system, but we allowed these beings to take it over for whatever reason. It's part of the game. And I think at some point they will lose their power once the vibration raises. They'll lose their command center. I think that little command center in their fake light simulation afterlife thing that they do, I think that that's just temporary. I think that there's a main control center that they can't access, but we're just allowing them to do it from their little fake center. They think that they're in control. They think that they're the end all be all. They think that they're, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread, just like the demiurge did in the story of Sophia and the demiurge. Yeah, the demiurge thought he was the end all be all and that he was, you know, the best thing since sliced bread or whatever. And, you know, come to find out he was created by a much higher being known as an Aeon, but he had no idea. He had no clue. And I believe that's what these reptilians are going through. They have no clue what they are and who made them. They think that, you know, they made humans. That's what we want them to believe, that they made humans and they manipulated us and they used, you know, our DNA to create us as some genetic experiment and all this and that. And they may have experimented to a degree, but they're not the creators, okay? They're the wannabe creators. And eventually they're going to find that out. But anyways, I truly hope this helped somebody. I don't want this video to be too long. It still ended up being a little longer than I was trying to, but it's much shorter than the other videos. So anyways, appreciate you again. Hope you got something out of this.